Why you should play Vanilla Era in 2023.
It's hard to think that Classic WoW has been out almost 4 years at this point. That's a hell of a long time to
It's actually true.
still not have Thunder Fury. Since then, we've had the Burning Crusade, Wrath, Season of Mastery, and hell, I wouldn't be surprised if we have Classic Cataclysm announced by the end of the year, which is pretty nuts, to be honest.
Yeah.
But what's more interesting to me is the current state of Vanilla Era WoW, which is currently going through what I can only describe as a complete resurrection. I have not seen the Vanilla Classic servers this busy since Classic WoW launched back in 2019. It's insane. And if you're one of those people sitting on the fence and thinking about jumping back into Vanilla on a fresh character, or starting the game for the very first time, then this is the video.
Dude, that's nuts that there's that many people playing who aren't just like hardcore players. They just want to play classic World of Warcraft.
For you. Why? Because I have done just that. Some time ago, I created a brand new character on a Vanilla Era server I'd never played on before. It was a completely fresh start for me, and since then, over the last few weeks, I've been leveling, running dungeons, being mind controlled down chimneys, and generally having a fucking great time, to be honest with you. From that experience, I can absolutely confirm that Vanilla Era Classic WoW is booming right now. There are new players everywhere, running dungeons is a super smooth experience, and forming groups takes only a few minutes most of the time.
Jesus.
I just finished questing through Duskwood, and completing the many elite quests was easy because of how many other players were adventuring alongside me, ready and eager to talk, group up, and get the job done.
And that's what I think is so crazy about it, is the fact that like it's not even something that's happening with hardcore WoW, it's something that's happening everywhere. Like, Era is actually thriving. People are actually playing hardcore now. It's nuts.
Obviously, I can't speak for the American servers because I play on EU, but I've heard that it's the same over there, with a massive surge in new and returning players to the vanilla game. The question here, though, is why? Why is this happening in the first place? After all, Vanilla WoW hasn't had any new content since the original Classic release, if you don't count the Season of Mastery, which was a bit, you know. So why are people returning to play the game now? Honestly, I think it comes down to the nature of Vanilla as a game, and what differentiates...
I think also people are excited about hardcore WoW because they're talking about it again, right? It's like people are talking about hardcore WoW, and then like maybe they try out hardcore, and they're like, you know, they die, but they're like, fuck it, I just want to keep going, keep playing, and like that's probably what it is too.
Differentiates it from
it's like a social
Classic
movement
and retail WoW, which I think is where many players are coming from right now. This could be summarized pretty simply as the journey is the destination. Now, we've all heard the meaningful journey shit when it comes to vanilla, but honestly it's pretty accurate. World of Warcraft has never been a sandbox game, but vanilla WoW is far closer to a sandbox than any subsequent version of the game. Leveling takes time. It fosters a bond between player and character.
Well, it's an actual experience that transcends just a fucking bullshit thing that you have to do for like 20 hours because this is how MMOs are. Like, for most games, leveling is completely pointless. There's no reason to have to level.
New spells and improvements in gear, as well as simple things like making the most of professions while you level, and using the auction house to build up the money for spells and mounts. All of these things make that journey to max level feel like much more of an adventure in its own right than in any other version of WoW. You don't log in.
Well, the thing is, classic WoW is really hard and fucking annoying, so you have to do things that you wouldn't normally do while leveling.
Just to get to level 60. You log in because you want to play your character, regardless of what its current level is. This feeling of adventure is only strengthened by the game's approach to cooperation and interaction between players. There was a common misconception which was heavily ridiculed before the release of Classic WoW that vanilla was really hard, something which people quickly realised is not accurate. Mechanically speaking, vanilla WoW is far simpler than any subsequent version of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
What people really meant was that vanilla is far less forgiving than modern WoW.
Well, it's also the simplicity is what people like. I don't know why, like, there's a lot of esports enjoyers that are like, no, the game has to reward you because you have a 80 millisecond reaction time. No. People want an easy game they can sit back and relax and play.
Far less solo friendly and that everything takes more time. What this means for players is that working together is the best way to deal with many challenges presented by the game. You talk to people, you accomplish things together that due to the nature of the game would have been extremely difficult or impossible for you to achieve on your own, which makes the feeling of jolly cooperation all the more powerful.
Yeah, exactly, because like you actually couldn't solo very well as most classes, so whenever you had somebody else helping you, it was like night and day difference. Whereas like now in retail WoW, usually leveling with another person or playing with somebody else will end up slowing you down. And the gear matters a lot too. Yeah, exactly.
How bonds in games are made. This is how friendships are made. The reality is that I've added more new people to my friends list in the 2 weeks of playing vanilla WoW than they have in 2 years of playing retail. And I'm much more likely to keep adding people to the friends list, considering that they crop up again and again out in the world because the servers aren't mashed together in a cross-realm system where you never see someone more than once.
I do have to say that I am a mass server enjoyer. I don't like the idea that servers are... I don't think servers add any value. They're garbage. They're a technological limitation. It should have been left in 2015, 2010. But, you know, I think that the value would still be the same if everybody was in the same place. I think sharding and phasing is what the problem is, really.
Okay, so we've gone over the meaningful journey and the focus on cooperation with other players. These things are essential, but I think there's more to it than that, which makes vanilla so popular. I think that a big part of what draws people back to the vanilla game is the simple, honest fantasy of the game. You play as a nobody, setting forth on an adventure to become a somebody in a world filled with fantasy races, tons of varied locations, and all manner.
Well, it's an RPG that you can choose your own path in. Whereas later on in WoW, that path is chosen for you. You do certain actions. You are the hero of Azeroth, etc. And again, Final Fantasy does that, and I think the MSQ for Final Fantasy is better than it is for WoW. So it's not like it's somehow a better experience, like fundamentally, but it's definitely a more open experience.
Stories to explore. You don't have a single megamind plot being forced down your throat at all times, nor do you have to constantly adjust your expectations to the changing focus of the game's story and characters. All of this, in my opinion, serves to make the world feel much more realistic. It feels like a virtual world, and your character is just one of many people in it, finding their place in that world. And speaking of the world, it's just immense.
Yeah.
You're not packed into a few small zones or a hub city all the time, but instead you're left to travel across vast distances, which only adds to that feeling of being in an actual virtual world rather than a condensed game level.
Yeah, that's another thing that the game really did a good job at, is having places that were just there because of the nature of it being an open world, rather than a level that you go through.
Go on, but to put it simply, people are coming back to vanilla WoW now because the game is timeless in a way that the other versions of WoW just aren't.
Yeah, it is.
You don't need a directed path of content or a new patch to consume for the game to be worth your time. In my opinion, it's one of the best games ever made, and it has aged better than any other game I can think of. In contrast to retail and the later stages of Wrath, vanilla offers a more sandbox experience, which I think appeals to a large portion of the community who just want to explore and create their own adventures rather than being forced to play the game in a certain fixed way to be doing it the right way. In vanilla, the right way is whatever you want it to be, as long as you're having fun. Something which, in my opinion at least, got lost somewhere along the way to modern WoW.
Well, it's not about having fun anymore. It's about optimizing your rotation, making sure that you have your weak auras updated, installing DBM, making sure that you're in a raiding guild, showing up to that raid on time. Do you have the plugin for this boss here? Okay, good. Making sure that your rotation for the interrupt, you're the 7th interrupt on the 3rd ad. All right, oops, somebody disconnected. It's a wipe again. Okay, now we're going to spend 15 minutes walking back. Oh, we're going to have Soul Stone, but somebody released. Let's get a Summoning Stone down. We've got to summon them. Like, oh my God. The boss, this is your 200th wipe on the same boss. What is this? Like, who's having fun here?
I wanted to make this video because to me, the more people who come back to vanilla or get into it for the first time, the better. In an ideal world, I would love for this surge of interest to result in Blizzard finally seriously looking at the prospects of additional content for vanilla WoW in the spirit of...
The problem that I have with that, and I do think they should do this, however, is that I do not trust Blizzard to do this in like a good way. Like, I think that this is the path forward, but I don't think it's going to be perfect, and the content that they release will not be of the same quality of the original content. I don't know, like there's a lot of things with Diablo that I think work really well, but like the game design decisions in a lot of cases are just not very good. And it's the same thing with like Dragonflight, and like Blizzard just like has some of these like values that don't make any sense to me. Like I think Blizzard, like it's almost like they want their games to be frustrating. To make bosses have one mechanic, boom, content's perfect, classic. Yeah.
The original game. But even if it just means that we all get to experience true classic WoW together once more and revel in the magnificence of the game, then that's enough for me, and I hope you'll join me for the ride. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, I've linked a playlist to the whole.
Well, the problem is that they think that friction is necessary, but they don't understand how to create it in a fulfilling way. So that's the problem. It's that friction is necessary in a game for it to be good, but that friction is not in the right place.
For you. How convenient, right? I am a generous soul, aren't I? If you like the vibe of the channel, then I'd encourage you to subscribe, and if you don't, then you should probably run away as fast as you can, eh? Until the next episode, guys, be well, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
There it is. I really like this video. I think it's a short video. It's sweet, to the point. But yeah, I definitely agree with this. I think that the reason why Vanilla WoW is blowing up is because it's really easy. You can do it at your own pace. The raids are a minimal time investment. You can get world buffs and run them over, and then you can get the best gear out of the raid for running them over. It's amazing. And that's why people like it. They like it because it's fucking easy. And I know that it's like, it's not true. Yes, it fucking is. Because the moment the game got too hard, errors started blowing up. What a fucking coincidence. Give me a break. Yeah, there's no convoluted systems, the leveling matters. I'll see you buy the game and it's done. Yeah, exactly, there's that too. It's wild is I played WoW once, 2014, 15, basically nothing, and somehow the world of classic WoW is nostalgic, it's truly fantasy. Well, it's because they really made something special with classic WoW, and I don't think Blizzard has been able to like really do a lot of that afterwards. I think they've never been able to like really capture that in the same way. It's hard, man. I'm excited for Cata Classic. I'll play it, but I mean, it is what it is. Retail dungeon leveling is so dumb. Retail peaked in Wrath. I think that retail, like, Wrath, like, I like Wrath classes more than I like vanilla classes, personally. But, I think that vanilla content was better, and the vanilla world was better, and the vanilla systems were better. But, like, I just like the way classes play in Wrath more.